we just want to meet and go over clients or intakes, I guess. That's the only thing we want to do. Can you reschedule the one at all?
No. Yes.
Okay.
We'll try. We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
Good
morning.
Talk about.
Welcome to Caffeinate Your Career. Today's topic is pivoting in your job search, doing something else. With me today is the magnificent manager of career services and our resident trainer, Mr. Phil Konecki. Phil, thanks for being here on Caffeinate Your Career today.
Thanks for having me, Jason.
And I am now confirming that we are live. Let me turn that down. We are live, so if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat, and Phil has all the answers I already see. Good morning, Yolanda Chen. I see you already all popped in there in the chat. So, Phil, let's kind of get into this.
Okay.
And let's talk about first, like, why people would want to change in their career, right?
Mm-hmm. So, one of the reasons that people sometimes think about changing a career is, well, have I gone as far as I can? Have I gone as far as I can in this particular field, in this particular career? Personally, I have been in my third career now. I retired from the Air Force at 34 after 17 years. I retired from ITT as a program chair for electrical engineering technology at 51 for 17 more years. And so after a while, sometimes people want to change careers because stale may not be the right word, but they've kind of accomplished the goals they wanted for that career.
Yeah.
Another reason they may want to change careers is they may find it difficult to find a job in the career that they used to have. If I was really great at doing data entry and I had a 10 key speed of 10,000 kph, well, that's great. We have QR codes now. We have scanners now, and there may not be that need for data entry folks the way there was
Right.
today. So timing and technology could also have a play into it, as long with personal desires.
Yeah, I think also too, like the pandemic really increased the trend of people wanting to do something else. Like my first year here, because I started right when the pandemic started, right? And I swear pretty much most of my clients that first year, they're like, yeah, I want to do something else. I'm like, okay, what do you want to do? Let's figure it out. Let's talk it through. Because what happened was, like, the world basically hit pause, and you had a lot of people with a lot of time on their hands going, I even like my job. Like what am I doing here? And a lot of it was, no, I don't. So I want to do something else. And that was pretty much, I think, a big increase in moving into the next section, right? And I did, so one of the things that I found too in doing my research for today's show was that a U.S. Chamber poll found that 46% of hospitality workers wanted to change industries. They wanted to align the skill, right, because they're good talking with people, to doing something else and getting into something else, right, and into a different or growth industry.
The pandemic, of course, had a lot to do with this. Now, that is an anomaly. We're not going to have that hopefully every few years, but it's one of the things that happened. We have to adjust to it. And of course, certain industries were hit a lot harder than other. And of course, hospitality basically was the number one that took it very badly because people weren't going to hotels, people weren't flying on planes. The hospitality and service industries really had a hard time maintaining their employees. You had your PPP funding as well, but still with nobody coming in and booking a hotel room, nobody coming in and having a restaurant dinner, there really wasn't a need. And so I could appreciate the chamber statistics that a lot of the folks in that industry may have felt, wait a second, this industry isn't going to survive. I may need to take a look at another option.
Right. Also, too, I think that the lack of a requirement for a degree has also had people going, oh, I can do something else, or I want to do something else, right? Mm-hmm. Like, most major companies now, Amazon, Google, I can't think of any other major company.
Facebook.
That's right. Yeah. Facebook, right? Have now put in the job description, degree preferred instead of degree required. In fact, not too long ago, probably about 6-8 months ago, Elon Musk said he doesn't even care if you have a high school degree so long as you can innovate, right? So companies are kind of moving away from what was the norm and back into more of a skill set and experience factor. And I think it's increasing people going, oh wait, I can do that, right? Because like, and I'm sure you have this all the time for clients. It said, oh, I didn't apply for that job because it says you have to have a degree, right? But come on, like you don't have to have a degree to be a salesperson or even an admin, right? Like you just have to be good with people and or know how to multitask and get into the, you know what I mean, into the thing.
And there's a couple points about the quote degree requirement on a job description. Number one, if you ask employers why it's on there, a lot of times they may have, well, it's always been on there, but a lot of times what we'll hear is the fact that it's on there as a precursor for potential future management within that same organization, maybe kind of a building block moving forward. But I can also appreciate the idea now that the college degrees for a lot of companies may seem to be antiquated.
Yeah.
The fact that if you go to a 4-year degree and you learn a particular topic or skill, especially in technology, by the time you graduate, what you've learned is obsolete.
That's right.
Not obsolete, but it's definitely not the latest and greatest. And so a lot of this is actually reverting back, if you will, to almost the Middle Ages, believe it or not, to where it's almost more of an apprenticeship type of a program as opposed to an education type of program. It doesn't mean there's not a place for college degrees anymore. By all means, there is a place for it. But with some of the new technologies coming out, it's very hard to get a degree program in it. I'll give you an example. When I was working at ITT, we had a conference, and the conference was about how can we put a program together for a degree in wind turbine technology.
Okay.
And the technology was so new that there was really that technology changes and such. It moves too fast for a traditional college degree to keep up with. And that may be part of what's happening for employers looking at, well, the degree isn't really going to be that much requirement anymore. And that could be the reason why some of your employers are pulling that back.
Yeah. Well, I think too, like, you know, we're in September now, so we're pretty much mostly through the year, right? So we could say it's, you know, close. We're pretty close to 2023, right? And in today's world, everything is out there. It's available online, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you want to be a project manager, you could go to YouTube and watch a video. I've seen the video. I watched the video.
Right.
A day in the life of a project manager. And I always bring up like my wife. She's not a plumber, but she watched a couple of YouTube videos and figured out how to fix the toilet. Right? I mean, it's like all of the information is out there, and I think that because of that, and the like you said, employers moving away from that, like the Middle Ages, like do you know it? It has increased people wanting to get into and change a different industry.
And the ability to gather information and find information on the internet, of course, is unparalleled. And so you will have courses available. You will have references available that you can go for that you used to have to go into a brick and mortar building at one point in time for some type of a training program. The one thing that we have to be careful of is that the internet has made every human being on the planet a publisher.
Right.
And if you think back to, quote, the days of old, back when my hair color was not this hair color, and we had to write a research paper, we had to go to this thing called the library in this gigantic reference book and look through all the information. And you really had a sense that that reference book, with 10,000 page reference book, was legitimate. Nobody was going to fake that stuff out. But you really have to be careful of what you find online. Is it legitimate, and is it something that we can trust? That aside, it is all going to be available. People can go out there now and have access to information that was, again, unheard of 20 years ago.
Right. Yeah, I mean, for sure, the internet's changed pretty much everything, like how we do everything, from shopping to education to just email in our daily lives. Right?
And when I was at ITT, we would teach a class to the incoming students, and the class was called Strategies for the Technical Professional. And one of the first things I told them was, if you think about all of the changes that have happened to mankind since fire until 1980, and 2,000 years of man's development.
Yeah.
How many innovations we've had through those 2,000 years were fewer than the innovations from 1980 to 2000. There are more innovations in that 20-year period than there were in the previous 1,980 years.
Right.
And that shows that change is still happening, but the speed of change is something that's almost incomprehensible. As soon as we learn something, guess what? It's outdated.
That's right.
And so it's very frustrating trying to get that information and become, quote, a master at it, if you will, and then realize that, well, it's not relevant anymore. And that could also be a reason that people are walking away or trying to find other options from, quote, traditional employment and changing their careers and pivoting into something else that may take advantage of skills not necessarily recognized by an education institution.
Right. Well, that's a good point. I like to remind people that like this phone, this phone is more powerful than the computer that Ronald Reagan used to run the free world back in the 80s. Right. Like we just to that point now.
It's more powerful than the Apollo mission that went to the moon.
That's right. That's right. When you think about that, like when you put it in those terms, it's like, oh, okay, right. And that's how crazy and fast technology has come. So one of the other reasons that people want to change in their career and pivot is they want to make a difference in the job that they're doing. In fact, again, the same U.S. Chamber poll found that 41% said the urgency in returning to work and wanted to go into a positive work environment, and 31% would rather return to a job if it actually made a difference in the world. And I know, like, I have a friend who I won't name, but he's looking to pivot into his career and he wants to work for a nonprofit. I was like, well, what do you want to do? He's like, I don't know, I just want to make a difference. I want to do something different, right? And I think part of that comes from the pandemic, and just people wanting to be helpful in general.
I think that one of the things that happened because of the pandemic is that decisions became a lot faster.
Yep.
There were companies that did not survive, and there were changes that could be made, and the pandemic kind of basically pushed the fast forward button on all those things. And so what may have been a slow transition into some other industry or some slow transition to where an organization might fail, the pandemic simply sped that up. Now, of course, there's a lot of other negative impacts of the pandemic, but I think the fact that we now made changes a lot quicker leads us to the points that you were talking about. And having a desire to, quote, make a difference is a good thing, and having a desire to work in a positive work environment is a good thing. But I think one of the things that we have to make sure we don't lose sight of is that we know what that is. So if I say positive work environment, okay, well, what exactly does that mean? Making a difference. What exactly does that mean? When I have clients, I'll ask them, they say, want to work in an organization that makes a difference. My suggestion to them is take a look at the mission statements of those organizations. What is that organization trying to do? Whether it's a for-profit, whether it's a not-for-profit, what are they trying to do? Okay? If they're an organization that's looking to, let's say, help people getting second chance employment, maybe coming out of a prison environment, something like that.
Yeah.
That's something that they believe in. And that's the other thing, is that we have to make sure that we're willing to believe and we want to support that mission of that particular organization, be it profit, for-profit, not-profit, whatever. And that is part of the compensation we receive while we're going to work there. The fact that we enjoy being there, that we have that positive work environment, we feel like we're making a difference.
Yeah.
So that is something that we have to make sure we're able to share with our clients is, it's nice to have that thought, but what exactly does that mean? Do you know what you're looking for?
That it goes really back to the why, right? Like, because I believe a lot that skills can be trained, but you can't train the why. Why do you want to work here? Like, what is your motivation for wanting to be here, right? And I think that in itself really is the crux of, you know, being in any situation in a work environment. It's and everybody's why is different, because you're like, I want to be in a positive environment. Okay, well, what does that mean to you, right? Because what that means to you might be different from me, but it is it just depends, I think, totally on the individual.
At the end of the day, before you can do anything else, you have to know one thing crystal clear. No doubt about this at all. Is you have to know yourself.
Yeah.
You have to know what makes you happy. You have to know what it is that you believe in. We can go to work. We can put in our 8 hours a day. We can collect our paycheck. We can pay our bills. Then what? What are we doing with that time? What is it that we are doing? What is it that we believe in? What is it that we would do that makes us feel like we're making that difference, not only on the job, but in our lives? And having that sense of who you are, that sense of what drives you, the sense of what I would do, even if I didn't get paid for it, that's what we would like to have as our job. If we can find a place that we would go to work for and we believe in it so much that we would just do it for volunteer and then they pay us on top of that.
Right.
There you go.
That's right. Like if you had $1 billion, would you still be working here?
And that's an example I use for a lot of folks is that what happens if you wake up tomorrow and you win the lottery, you never had another bill in your life? Okay, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do?
I would still work here. I love my job. I love the organization.
And I'm very happy to hear that, by the way.
I bet you are. If I did win the lottery, I would still work here.
And it goes back to understanding that money is simply a tool. Money should not be the reason. Money is a tool that allows us to do the things we need. We can pay the bills, we can have a good life, but we want to make sure that we're working in a place that we believe in what they do. And after the job is over, after the traditional 8 to 5, whatever it is, having that sense that you are making a difference, as the survey pointed out, is very important for folks.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well, you talk about money. That was another reason that people were considering leaving. In fact, a Flex Jobs poll found that 39% of people left or considered leaving just because they wanted more money. Right. Another reason people want to switch jobs: poor leadership, lack of recognition, low pay. Right. I'm sure you've talked to clients before where they're at an employer or working for somebody that's just totally not organized and have it together. Right. And then the last one of where people want to go and leave is just for flexibility. You hear a lot about work-life balance, and companies are starting to require people to return to work, and employees just be like, no, I'm not doing that. Yeah. Right? Oh, okay, that's a thing. We could just say we're not going to go back to work. All right, cool. Right?
Employers find sometimes that when employees are working from home, that they will have more productivity. Some employers find that if employees are working from home, they have less costs. Maybe they don't need to maintain the office building or pay for the lease or all of that stuff as well. Some employers are actually okay with some of their employees working from home. And it turns out, believe it or not, that when people started to have the ability to work from home, some people actually started to resent it. Prior to the pandemic, one of the biggest perks, if you will, out there was I get to work from home.
Yeah.
And for a lot of folks, that was very important, almost more important than salary. I can work from home, I can take care of the kids, I can do all this stuff here. I don't have to commute. All these things were great. But something interesting started to happen. After about 4, 5, 6 months, 7 months, working from home all of a sudden wasn't what everybody thought it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having that second bedroom that you made into the office, now all of a sudden you wanted to walk away from the bedroom, but it wasn't part of your home anymore. having what we want is good, but sometimes having too much of what we want, we end up not liking it. And that's actually what happened for a lot of folks with regard to working from home. They actually miss the camaraderie, they miss connecting with other people. And that flexibility that people were looking for in their jobs may lead them to think, well, if I go to another location, if I go to a different job, it might be a little different.
Yeah.
And of course, you've got the cautionary tale, the grass is always greener. But keeping in mind that at the end of the day, the satisfaction isn't going to be provided by another person. You've got a boss that doesn't like what you're doing or hard to work for. That's understandable, but we can't change that person. We have to change what we're going to do. We have to change the things that we can control.
Right.
And if we find that we are going to be in a better position, if you will, internally at another location or another job, maybe it is time to make that change. But we don't want to go to an employer because we don't like the other employer. One of the things that employers are asking when they interview is they're asking about, are you running from somewhere or are you running to us? Are you running away from something, coming to work for us, or are you running to us because you believe in what we do? And you can appreciate what they really want that answer to be, and it's not the first option.
Right. Yeah, I prefer working in the office versus I work from home Fridays, and it's you know what? I think I and my schedule is a lot more full on the Friday, so that I can keep me on task, like all the way up to like 5, right? Because like when I'm in the office normally, it's like I'm not available from 4 to 5, right? Because I'm doing the things I'm like finishing up for the day.
Mm-hmm.
And Fridays is just like I think I'm more busy on that day than any other day.
The behavior of people is very interesting as well, because there is this inherent need, at least to ourselves, to justify that we are in fact working from home.
Yeah.
And so we will perhaps go over and above what we may do coming into the office. Because when you go into the office, okay, my car's in the parking lot, I'm in the office, I'm doing things, people know it, and I don't really have to justify what I'm doing because I'm, at the office. But if I'm at home, and I've got my day scheduled out here, am I doing what I'm supposed to do? How do people know I'm not sitting there watching Oprah for half an hour while in the middle of the workday? Tends to happen like that. People will start to try to justify themselves more working from home, which can actually lead to more stress.
Well, and that too, but like do you trust your team? like are they doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? Like and for me, I just like being around people. I like coming in, seeing you, Kristen, Brenda, Allison, and everybody else. I'm not gonna name everybody that works at the company, but like it's just for me, I just like being here, right? The only thing that is good about working from home on Friday is I get to start dinner earlier. I don't have a longer commute. I can go on my walk. Like I get a jump start on the things I'm going to do later in the day anyway.
And of course, you do that outside of the normal working hours, of course, right? Say yes. Say yes.
Yes. We're going to say yes. All right. So why would you want to change careers? Like one of the things that you need to do is ask you, and you were talking about this earlier, how do you know yourself, right? Because the big question is are you comfortable with risk, right? Are you okay and have the fear of lack of stability? Because getting into something else is a lot, right? I mean, it's not like you're just going to just jump into something else. Like there's a whole lot involved in it. And I think that comes back to, are you comfortable with who you are and are you okay with change? Because a lot of people don't like change.
I will tell you, I may have shared this with you before, but I'll tell you and the audience a story about my father. My father started, we were in Chicago, he worked for a company called Commonwealth Edison, and they were a power company up there. And he started working there at the age of 17.
Wow.
He was doing some kind of, working on maps or things like that. He retired at 62 from the same company.
Wow. That's amazing.
At the same location. He took the same bus to the same bus stop, went to the same bathrooms, had different floors for different offices and such, but for 45 years with exactly the same company. And he progressed as well. And that was what was important to him, was stability. But he knew that. And we have to keep that in mind when we start looking at these types of decisions. Do I want to maybe start my own business, or do I want to go to whatever? And the answer, yes or no, isn't as important as knowing what you are comfortable with. So,
Right.
what is your tolerance? What is it that you like? Personally, I'm not a big fan of change. Okay. We recently cut the cord on the cable, if you will. We started doing streaming services. I'm looking for channel numbers. They don't exist anymore. I can't handle that. It'll take a while, but you'll get used to it.
Yeah, that's right.
What's channel 42? There isn't one.
That's right. That's right.
So learning that and getting used to it, all right, that's something we're going to be able to do. But do I really want to go out there and maybe start my own coaching business? Not sure I can handle that. Not sure I want to do that. These are things that if we don't know ourselves, we're running the risk of making some decisions that we're going to regret later on. I think it's critical that before we start looking at what the next type of job is or how we want to pivot, we need to know, what is the end goal? What is it that we truly want? And are we able to deliver that either to the new employer or possibly to a set of customers, wherever it is? Do we know what we want, and can we deliver what we think we can do?
Yeah. So, but it's a good question. And is, do you think you can go out and start your own coaching business?
Could I? Probably. I probably could.
I think you could too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty confident that you can.
Yeah, but I'm not going to.
No.
Not for a while.
No. Same. I'm absolutely, like, it's funny because, like, we had my review, right? We did the review, and I was like, in my head, I'm like, if I don't like this review, I'm fine with just walking out the door. Like I know enough people, and I know I'm good enough to figure out of the next step. Like I don't have that fear, which is, I think, one of the things that keeps people from moving forward is the fear, right? Mm-hmm. Like you want to change careers, like, can you do it? Right? And I'm completely confident that I can. So that was the other thing why you might want to consider before you change careers is, can you just overcome the feeling of being stuck? And a Money Penny poll found that 7% of people out there are in their dream jobs, but it's low confidence that is keeping people from moving forward.
People don't want to step off the cliff. And a lot of people don't want to step off the cliff because they don't know what the next step could take. They don't know what the result of their actions could be. I think that there is nothing guaranteed in life. However, I think that if we take the time to look at, again, ourselves, and also make a decision if we're going to look for another position, research. What is the day, again, what's the day in the life of that particular project manager going to be? What's that person going to do? Are there ways we can find out what would it be like in that particular field, if you will, or in that particular job, and get a sense of it? And anything we can do to perhaps gather more information would help us feel a little bit less fearful taking that step. When I was in Boston, I had a client who really wanted to work at a hotel in the front desk and didn't really know much about it. And I suggested, why not go to the hotel early in the morning and watch people check out? Watch what the front desk staff does as people check out in the morning.
Yeah.
Go back to the hotel around 3-4 o'clock, watch people check in. Talk to the people at the front desk. Hey, what's a day like here? What is it that you wish you knew about this job before you started the job? I think getting the research and getting the data helps us have a lot less fear taking that step forward. But without somebody doing the research and the work and finding out what that is, fear is going to be the thing that's going to hold everybody back.
Well, that's the other thing too, and you bring up a good point. But like, when you're going to move into something else, I think that research, but also too, getting into and talking to people, right, is going to be key. In fact, I'm going to go and say it's almost impossible to get into something else entirely different than what you do if you don't talk to people and network, right? Because you're going to need those people behind you to let you know, hey, this is how we do things, this is how it works, this is a day in the life of, right? And without that, you're just kind of rolling through things, and like, I don't think that anything's going to really happen.
I will say this, though, with regard to changing careers or changing jobs or industries or whatever it is. At the end of the day, this is a very simple thing to do. At the end of the day, the concept of employment, the idea of what employment actually is, boils down to you have a need. I can be a solution for that.
That's right.
You have something that you either cannot do or you don't have the time to do.
That's right.
Okay? If I have at my house, my air conditioners totally fail, okay, I have to hire somebody because that's outside my skill set. I have a problem, that person can come in and solve that problem. So no matter what the job is, if you're a brain surgeon or if you're passing out flyers somewhere, it's the idea of a problem being solved.
Right.
And whatever the career choice is, whatever the pivot may be, understanding what you can provide is also going to be based upon understanding what is the need. We cannot solve a problem for somebody until we know what that problem is. Hence the research, hence the talking, hence getting that information.
Right.
And so it can be done, but we understand that the work we've done in the past, the jobs we've had in the past, there are a lot of transferables that we're going to be able to bring in to the new career. It may not be the exact same statements, but there was a gentleman I researched a lot called Polya, P-O-L-Y-N-A, and it's a problem-solving process. What is the problem? What's the solution? What are the possibilities? Enact the solution, and did it work? And we can apply those 4 steps to almost any position out there. And knowing the problem is, that's the research. What are the steps that we can do to solve it? What are the things we can provide a solution? That's knowing ourselves. And then we try the solutions, we try them and see if they will work and resolve the problem. And so the fear of the unknown, we understand. I think the way we can mitigate that is to make it a lot less unknown. And realize that what we've done in the past is going to be key to helping us make that move forward. When we're pivoting, we're not totally just erasing the past. We're not erasing the things that we've done before. We need to find out what parts of the things we've done before can help us move into the next position we're going to be in.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely correct. I think that without thinking about that and how we can get into the next thing, is going to be the thing that makes it successful. I tell people all the time, you either network or not work, right? I know that the best way to get into something, especially if you're changing careers, is going to be just talking to people and figuring it out. In fact, that's one of the things that you first taught me when I started here, which was, have your clients talk to people that do the thing, right? And then they start building a map on how to get into that career, right? I think that actually this is a good time to mention that we will be doing in-person networking here starting October 13th. Come and see me and Phil. Phil's actually going to be presenting salary negotiations. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So that'll be the October 13th, 3 o'clock, from 3 to 4:30. Come in. If you are interested, we got a limited number of space available, but you can email me at the letter J, Hopper, HOPPER, at jfsdallas.org if you're in the area, and put networking in the subject line, and I will put you on the list, and you'll get in here and see me. So that's coming up. Networking. You got to network. I think, Phil, and I don't know if you talk to your clients about this, but I think one of the best ways to get things moving, is obviously networking, which can be scary to a lot of people because like there's a big misconception on like what networking is, right?
Mhm.
Like I think that the idea is that you're in a big ballroom, there's like 3 or 4 people hanging around in clumps, maybe
Right.
there's wine and cheese and baller conversation. Right? That's not networking, right? That's not networking. I mean, networking is just talking to people.
I will say something that is going to sound a bit oxymoronic. Networking has nothing to do with getting a job.
That's true. Absolutely.
Networking may be the best way to get a job,
Absolutely.
but it has nothing to do with getting the job. And so what do we mean by that? Well, think about the job process. We're looking for a job and we have to write a resume. If people dislike writing resumes for a very simple reason, we're just not very good at it. We don't write resumes every day of our lives.
That's right.
And so writing a resume is an anomaly. It's something we have to do. Networking, on the other hand, we do every single day of our lives since we've been the age of 10. Networking is nothing more than talking to people, and the goal of networking is not to get a job. The goal of a networking is to listen and learn.
That's right.
I tell my clients, shy people make the best networkers. Shy people don't talk, they listen. And we can make that initial connection, and we want to listen and learn more than we want to do the talking. And if we are able to listen and learn, we'll be able to learn what's going right for folks, what's not going right, and we're going to be able to identify there are some things that we may not have known about this particular career field, this particular job we want to do, and gather in information. And I want to touch base really quick on something else you mentioned earlier about the fact that some people want to change jobs or start their own business because they don't like working for the boss.
That's right.
Okay. If you are collecting a paycheck, you have a boss. Okay? It may not be the line supervisor at a restaurant, but if you're in your own business, you have lots of bosses. They're called your customers.
Right.
And so you're always going to be working for somebody. In the nonprofit community, we have funders. They share money with us and they say, hey, how are you spending your money? So we have to be able to account for that.
That's right.
So we're always going to be accountable to somebody. So pivoting because we don't like the fact that we have a boss, we're going to pivot, find that we still have bosses. We still have that. But again, the networking side is something that's going to be understandable to us if we realize all we have to do is what we've always been doing in our lives.
Just talking.
Yeah. And listening.
I think, and I tell clients this, I call them, and I call them wellness checks, right? Especially when I get new clients. It's like, does everybody that is everybody in your phone that do they know you're looking for work? And the answer's like, well, most of them are, no. Like, they need to. Like, they're in your phone for a reason, right? Go through your contacts, see who we haven't talked to in 6 months, 8 months, a year, and just send them a text. And the text is simple. It's, hey, Rick, I was thinking about you today. I hope you have the best day. That's it. That's the whole text. You're not asking for anything yet. But what happens, and I've yet to have a client come back at me and go, yeah, it didn't work, right? But what happens is they're like, oh, cool, Hopper was thinking about me today. That's so nice. And then they text back when they get a minute, and it's like, thank you so much. How are you? Right? It's just how we communicate as people. How are you? And now you're in it.
Yeah.
Now you're in it. It's like, I'm great. just got a new puppy. She's driving me crazy. Currently looking for a new project manager job. Let me know if you have any leads. By the way, how's your situation? Can I help you? I tell people all the time, it's like networking is talking. We're just talking to people, but also too offering to help. I think that if you offer to help somebody, they are more than willing to want to help you as well. And I think it's a great way to jumpstart your network, especially if you're looking to pivot into something else.
For those people out there who are my clients, you're not going to like what I'm saying because I've said this all the time. But I ask my clients to not consider themselves job seekers.
That's right.
Okay? I ask my clients to consider themselves to be solutions.
Job solutions.
And so we don't want to give the impression that we are looking for a job. When people hear that we are looking for something, they're thinking, obviously, you're looking for something because you have lost something.
Yeah.
Where's my car keys? Where did I put my shoes? So I'm looking for something because I've lost for something, and people will think that, well, this is all about you. You're trying to find something for you, and you're trying to do something for you. But if I offer a solution, if I'm offering to be of help, people are going to respond to that a lot differently.
Yeah.
And I think it's critical for us to become a person other people seek out instead of seeking other people out. How do we want people to think of us when they hear our name? What do we want people to say when they talk about us? And that ability to say, listen, this is guy's name's Phil, he does X, Y, Z, give him a call. Today I got an invitation on LinkedIn. Somebody wanted to talk to me, was referred by a third person. They were doing some research for digital training and said, hey, Phil, could you be, I don't know who you are, but sure, what can I do for you?
That's
How can I
right.
help? Being that person other people seek out makes networking so much easier. And remember, the point you just brought up, the 5 most important words of networking, how can I help you?
Yep. Well, that too goes back to brand.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You have to establish your brand, your personal brand. Your brand is what people think about or what they say about you when you're not around, right? And it's one of the reasons why I do some of the things that I do. We've had this conversation before, right? Like last Friday, I did Foster Williams' live stream on the Job Father. By the way, shout out to Foster. Foster will be here next week on Caffeinate Your Career. I did confirm that with him this morning. So Foster's going to be here next week. I'm super stoked about that. The week before, I did another live stream with a recruiter. Like I am setting myself up as the expert in the field, right? Like you said. And people know, oh, okay, if I have an issue or I have a job, it's how I ended up getting today we'll be assigning new clients, right? It's how I got one of the new clients that I'm going to be assigning to me today. Is she remembered me from helping her previously at the workforce? It's like, oh, I'm looking for work again. Jason can help me.
Yeah.
Right. So brand is the thing I think that is always very important. I think the other thing too is like your resume has to make sense to the recruiter, right? Like if you're wanting to get into being an admin and you were previously like, I don't know, a customer service person, like in a call center, right? Like recruiter gets the resume, they're looking at it like, why is this customer service person applying for my admin job? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And they just hit delete and they move on. So like, I think working on and crafting that is one of the things that's going to make the difference in not only establishing you and the brand, but also get those people invested in you.
If you, to your point, picture yourself being at home and you talked about how your wife looked at YouTube for plumbing videos. Let's say that there's a toilet that's stopped up and you have to hire a plumber.
Yeah.
And somebody knocks on your door and they have a paintbrush in there.
Right.
The world's greatest painter. They painted the Sistine Chapel. The greatest painter in the world. That's wonderful, but you
can't
don't
fix my
have
toilet.
that need.
He didn't fix my toilet. Right.
That person is solving a problem that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And we don't want to be in that same position with the resume advertising that we were really great in this one position when it doesn't solve a problem for who you're trying to apply to. Having that resume speak to the needs of the employer is critical.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the resume looks like basically a restaurant menu. And if you think about the last time you sat down in a restaurant, looked at a menu, you spent 10 minutes trying to figure out what you want. Nobody's going to spend 10 minutes looking through your resume, trying to see what part of this can help me out. We have to have that right up front. There has to be that hook to get somebody to want to read the second sentence of your resume.
That's right. And by the way, that is something a career coach can help you out with. And if you do need help crafting a resume, you can call us at 972-437-9950, extension 377. Leave a message to somebody. We'll get back to you. Phil will write your resume for you.
That's right. And I will cash your paycheck for you as well.
I did that the other day. I was like, Allison will take care of all your problems.
And you're still working here.
I know. I'm trying to figure that one out myself. I think that people get terrified of change and failure. Phil, how do you suggest, or what are some suggestions you have to get people over that hump of being afraid?
As we talked about, I think one of the things that probably the most blatant thing that people are afraid of is the unknown.
Yeah.
Okay. Walk into a room where the lights aren't on. What's the first thing you're going to do? You look for the light switch. We're going to think about finding, or you're going to bang your head into something.
You know what, though? With modern technology, and we were talking about this, I could just turn on the flashlight app on my phone. Mm-hmm. Provided I have my phone in my hand, right? Like I could just go click and then I can find the light switch. I don't have to stumble around trying to find the light. I could just have my light.
And so we know of the two of us which was the baby boomer, which was not the baby boomer. We're trying to figure that out. But with the fear people have is of the unknown. And to overcome that is to reduce the amount of things that are unknown.
Yes.
And understanding what you want gives you a starting point to start searching for those things.
Well, I think it's the research bit,
mm-hmm.
right? Again, whether it's in talking to people and figuring it out and finding, those extra bits and do you want to actually do this?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Finding out the answer to the question, what's it really like to do this? I find one of the good questions to ask on interviews is, what do people misunderstand about this job?
Oh, it's brilliant.
What do they misunderstand? And that gives the interviewer talking a lot. But if I want to know what's it like to be a home inspector, maybe I'll contact a home inspector and say, would you mind if I shadow? Could I kind of learn something? And are there opportunities for you to possibly collaborate or job shadow or something along those lines to see what it actually is like?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely correct. And one of the things that I, suggest that clients do, especially when people reach out to them on LinkedIn or the other way, if they are going to connect to people, is to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Ask for that virtual coffee, right? You set up a Zoom, you set it for, and be specific in the ask. Like, I'm not trying to sell you. I'm just trying to learn,
mm-hmm.
right? And do you have 20 minutes? I figured 20 minutes is, everybody got 20 minutes out of the day, right? They should. And that's 10 minutes for you to talk, 10 minutes for them to talk. Everybody learns everybody's story. And if it goes longer, great. But otherwise, you're getting yourself into a position where you have more depth into the connection. Versus, I'm not connected to Phil. All right, great. Like, why are we connecting? Why do you want to connect, right? Mm-hmm. Like, what is the purpose of me going and connecting with you? Do you provide value? Like, why are we doing this, right? Like, show how it is to get into it, because like now, right, as I'm rolling through my day, and it's like, talked to Susie this morning, and she was having struggles in her job search. She needs to talk to Bill, right? Because you already had that conversation. She knows who you are and what you do.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that we want to do when we're going through the connection process, and again, this may sound hard to comprehend, is we have to give people a reason to say no to us as well.
That's right.
We have to be able to give people a way to say no gracefully to us. And why would we want to do that? Well, people don't generally like saying no. And so rather than saying no, they may just not respond. They may just let that request die in the vine, if you will. And so whenever I have clients make a request, one of the suggestions I give them is to ask if this is the person who can help us, but if they're not, could they recommend somebody who's a better coach?
Give them an out.
And give them that way gracefully that they can say, I'm not the best fit for you, but this person might be, or something like that.
Well, it's the same thing in coaching, right? Like, like we assign clients to ourselves based on whether we think that we are going to be able to help them, right? And if not, all right, well, let me get you a different coach, right? Because I know almost straight up, like, I'm not going to be the guy for you, right? I've done intakes and I'm like, yeah, I'm not your guy, because you know what I mean, for what you need. So it just comes down to the fact of getting into and I think that people, and this is also important when you're trying to shift into a career, it's that endorsement or talking to people, because people hire and do business with people they like, right?
Exactly.
And if they like you, you're
Exactly.
you're good.
And that's
right?
one of the first things you talk about in negotiation is be likable.
That's right.
Nobody is going to go the extra mile for me if they don't like me.
That's right.
We want to be somebody that they like. And also, I said, finding out what we can do and understanding how pivoting can be a very successful move for us. If we're able to pivot into something that, number one, we enjoy doing, number two, we're capable of doing, and number three, that it solves a need for somebody.
Yes.
Keep those three things in mind when you're thinking about pivoting, and the fear will dissipate. The fear will dissipate, and I think that you'll be successful when you decide whether or not to pivot.
Right. So, Phil, we're about out of time. I'm real curious. Our last question is always the fun question.
This ought to be good.
And no, it is. It's because you just got rid of cable,
Yep.
and you're on streaming.
Mhm.
What apps do you have, and what is it that you're watching currently?
Well, I have not broken completely off of that, so I'm still watching a lot of the news shows and such.
Okay.
But my wife and I started to watch this program, the football coach, the soccer coach from America.
Ted Lasso.
The Lasso, yeah. We
Ted
watched
Lasso.
a little bit of that. So I understand he's done with the season now, but that's one of the things that she enjoys watching, and I'd sit down with her and we'll watch that.
Ted Lasso is amazing. I don't think I've ever seen a show where I've cried and laughed right afterwards. The writing is amazing. The acting is decent. It's probably going. There's a new season coming out. There's 2 seasons right now. It's something that I probably will be rewatching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ted Lasso. You made a great choice right there, my friend. Very good.
All right.
I'm currently. I am actually. I'm just rewatching stuff at this point. I don't have anything new. I'm rewatching Dexter. Dexter's. If you guys haven't seen Dexter, it's about a serial killer who kills other serial killers. That's it in a nutshell. So, guys, this has been Caffeinate Your Career. Next week, Foster Williams, the job father, will be here. Foster is a recruiter and a super connector, and he will be here with us next week. I'm super stoked about that, so tune in then. And in the meantime, have the best week.